Can you think of a time where you were accomplishing a lot of things and outwardly had a lot of success, or things looked good, or you were building something and people were acknowledging you for it, but you didn't feel good about you?
You mean like my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and a lot of my 50s?
Is there like a season, like a 6 month or 1 year season where you're like, man, it looked like everything was really great, or my business was blowing up, or this, or people were saying you're incredible, but I didn't feel good?
I think a lot of my life has felt like that.
Really?
Yeah, don't you guys feel like that a
Even
lot
when
of
you're
the time?
successful?
Yes. Yes. Because if you have not worked out yourself and your relationship with yourself, it does not matter what's happening on the outside. That's like the clothes you wear. That's what everybody sees. If you hate yourself, if you still are beating yourself up for the mistakes that you made, if you're holding that over your head like ransom for your happiness, success does not make you happy. Like that, I started too late. Thank God I did, but I started too late in earnest looking at my relationship with myself.
Really?
Yeah, I think everybody, I think that we all make the mistake, and there's a lot, of psychiatrists and psychologists and incredible researchers out there that talk about this. This is not my field of expertise, but I have lived it in terms of hating myself and holding past mistakes over my head and feeling like I'm a bad person. And so many of us chase achievement and tell ourselves that if we just get 1 million followers, if we just have $1 million in the bank, if we just drive the right car, if we just have the right clothes, if we're just in the right friend group, then those things on the outside somehow repair the things on the inside. Those are just the things you're doing. How you're feeling about yourself is the game. And the faster you can dedicate time and energy to looking at who you are and what you can learn from the mistakes that you've made, and how you forgive yourself for the things that you did that hurt other people and the things that you've done to yourself that hurt you, so that you can step fully into the next chapter of your life feeling like you've got your arm around your own shoulder. Like, that is the greatest gift you could ever give to yourself.
Yes.
For real.
Absolutely.
And I also think, back to your question, it's one of the reasons why I am humbled profoundly by what is happening in my career right now. But I'm very clear, this is a job. My identity is not the podcast or this book. Full stop. And it wasn't until I could get good with myself and the kind of person that I am, and forgiving myself for the mistakes that I've made in the past, instead of just constantly, relentlessly beating myself up over regrets and waking up every day and feeling like I've done something wrong and trying to prove that it wasn't until I got to the point that I was good with myself that you have this very detached experience about the things that happen out there. It's great. It's a measure of the impact that you make, but it doesn't change anything about how I feel about myself.
Wow.
And I never, ever, ever even knew that it was possible to be good with yourself. That's how much I trash myself.
Wow. When did you start to take that on, that journey for yourself, where you said, I'm good with me no matter what happens in career or numbers or money?
I think that I didn't realize that I had actually achieved this breakthrough for myself until the success of this project, and I just completely felt detached from how successful this thing was.
So in the last few months?
Yes. And I've been working very, very, very hard to look at the stuff that went down in childhood, the things that I did that were crazy unhealthy coping mechanisms in especially my late teens and my 20s and, even into my early 30s.
What were some of those?
Oh, God, how long do we have? I was like 23. I mean, everything from the drugs to the drinking to the stealing to cheating on people to I literally will bump into old boyfriends and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you met me. When I didn't realize I had childhood trauma and I had been the victim of this. And, I'd repressed all these memories, and instead I had a form of ADHD that was not diagnosed. And it was the type that makes you like really impulsive, and you have really low dopamine. And so like you literally are seeking thrill-seeking behaviors like, shoplifting or, cheating on nice guys. And oh my God, I'm really sorry. And they're like, great to see you too.
Oh, wow. And you used to beat yourself up a lot.
Daily.
Every day.
Oh my God. I mean, am I the only one that would literally, you send a text, you're like, oh my God, Lewis did not text back. Is Lewis mad at me? Like, I have not heard from Lewis in a day. Is something going on with Lewis? Like, I must have done something wrong. And so I now know, because I've spent enough time, just like you have, and like you do because you listen to Lewis, hearing from experts and going, oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Why is my default thought that I've done something wrong? Why am I so hard on myself? Why am I so busy that I cannot actually sit still?
Interesting.
And I didn't even realize, you guys, how, and it's a double-edged sword because, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and successful in business, you got to have a drive. You know that you're signing up for 80-hour weeks. You know that there is going to be an amount of go, go, go that is part of the job and the demand of actually going after something big. That's just what you're signing up for. But what I started to realize, and I don't know if any of you have had this epiphany, but you certainly have, I've noticed, that I actually was busy as a default. And I didn't realize this until the pandemic hit, and there's nowhere to go. And then all of a sudden you get all fidgety because you can't run to Target, or you can't run to the coffee shop, or you can't run to see your friends, or you can't run over here. And I started to, and then we moved to Vermont, and I'm like, oh my God, there's nowhere to go. And, my skin is crawling, and I started to realize that my resting state was go, 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 go.
And that sounds exhausting.
It was exhausting. I think and actually the research now shows, this comes from Dr. Aditi Nurikar over at Harvard's Beth Israel Deaconess. She runs their massive stress management clinic. Her research shows that 83% of people are actually living in a state of chronic fight or flight, meaning your amygdala is going. So if you are procrastinating more than ever, if you feel on edge, if you feel more irritable, if you are struggling to focus more than ever, the issue is that your stress response is running you. And that was me. And if I go back through my history, I had an incident happen in 4th grade where I woke up and we were in a big family like ski trip thing with a bunch of other families. And I woke up, I was sound asleep. So a moment when you're safe and resting. And I woke up to an older kid on top of me.
Ooh.
And I rolled over, and I don't remember what happened next. And then the next morning, I woke up and I had the sheets over me, and because I'm in like my 10-year-old body, I immediately sensed something's wrong. And then part of the human wiring when you're little, and I didn't know any of this stuff, you guys, till I'm like in my 40s, that the human design is such that when you're a little kid, you don't have something. This is from Dr. Paul Conti at Stanford, who is one of the world's leading experts on trauma. I always thought trauma was like, you've been to war, you've been the victim of violent crime, like something like wildly horrific had happened to you. It was a whole new thing for me to understand that trauma is any experience that actually is remembered in the body in an alarm state. It gets recorded in your nervous system. So this happens to me. I wake up at 10 years old. My first experience is something bad's happened, and then because you're little, you developmentally do not have something called attribution. Attribution is a human being's availability, or a human being's ability to look outside yourself and attribute what you're feeling to somebody else. So little kids, I think this is one of the cruelest things about the human design. Little kids do not have attribution. So when your mom or dad came home, and some people have that experience where you hear a car pull up on the gravel driveway and you freeze a little.
Mm-hmm. Or you get excited.
Well, yeah, that's a positive one. Yeah, but if you freeze a little,
oh yeah,
that's because when some people came home when you were little, you know what happened. And so if you still do that, or if you hear a crack of a beer can open and something like somewhere just makes you tense, that is what I'm talking about. So I, of course, didn't go, that kid's the problem. I did. I am. And do you know, I suppressed that memory. I don't know why. And I recalled it in my early 30s. And then I didn't know what to do with it. And I was too embarrassed to talk about it. And then I started to learn more about this in my 40s. And it suddenly made sense. Oh my God, no wonder I wake up every morning and I think I've done something wrong or something's wrong. Because this is what my body's been doing since I was 10 years old. This is a stored memory. And if you grew up in a chaotic household or you grew up with parents where you didn't know what mood people were going to be in, and so you kind of wake up, this is one of the most common experiences that people have that you don't realize it's actually tied to what it was like to be a kid.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning of all this unwinding.
Yeah.
And just really going deep and going, I don't want to freaking live like this.
Thank you for watching this video. If you want more inspiring clips like this, make sure to click right here to subscribe and click right here to watch that next video that is specific to support you in your life.